Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we're looking at 6 games here, Nate, on a Tuesday night slate in the NBA. In this game, we're taking a look at the Pelicans. They're playing host to the Hawks. Been really good on the road lately. Also have the Knicks and Magic up for you, as well as those player props. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Really good night last night for us with the Dubs and Blazers picks, as well as some success in those player props. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where you can check out all of our great written content that we have for you guys this season, and use that odds finder tool that we have up for you guys. Make sure that you are searching across the U.S. sportsbooks there to make sure you're getting the best odds available to you guys on all these bets you're making in the NBA this season. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into this 6-game slate and then talk Pelicans and Hawks.
Yeah, and the other game we break down, Knicks are only -1.5 at Orlando. Orlando has been feisty, but I think it's a tough matchup for them, like the Knicks there. Hawks are +1.5 in this one. In NOLA, total is 237. The Suns are -5.5 with Devin Booker coming back tonight. We don't know about his minutes limit at this point. Cam Thomas and the Brooklyn Nets playing host there. Bulls are +8 on a back-to-back in Memphis. Minnesota +9 at Denver after beating the Nuggets without the Joker in the recent meeting there. And then the Thunder +7 or so at the Lakers. 239 total. All eyes on LeBron James. Will he get to 36 tonight and break the all-time scoring record? So Hawks have been good on the road for sure. I mean, this is the end of a 5-game road trip. They did get 2 days rest. That's going to be key for Trae Young, who's missed their last 2 or losses on this road trip, but they've won and won handily with him in there. And you might think like, oh, the offense is better, the defense is worse with Trae out there. But for some reason, recently it's been the opposite way. It's been Clint Capella playing off Trae Young, I think, and in some ways just denying what other teams are trying to do, because he's back in there in their last 11, though, still giving, still 9-2 to the over in their last 11 of the Hawks, because they have the best offensive rating in the league during that span. And they're also hemorrhaging paint points even with Capella in there. So I'm not reading too much into those immediate splits with Capella, but I would think that the Pels are going to get it going down low. I mean, this is more of an interesting spot for them. After losing 9 straight with Ingram looking extremely rusty, he got his groove back against the Lakers, and then he sat, and they still rolled without him on a back-to-back. So slight rest disadvantage here, though, for New Orleans. The 3rd game in 4 nights, and they're 9-11 with a rest disadvantage. Also below, 10-13 versus the East. And both those situations, they do tend to go over. They haven't gone over in this matchup recently, but, I do think that the numbers we're talking about here in terms of Hawks giving up paint points, Pels giving up 3-point shooting, and the Hawks getting right in that department, and Trae being healthier here on 2 days rest, the Hawks are going over by 11 points per game, 7-2 to the over when they get 2 days rest here. So I do think I lean over here, but I once again, I kind of just like the road team, the team playing better here. I'm not buying into a very small 2-game sample size that says, oh, the Pels have figured this out and like they're going to be, good enough to beat Atlanta, which is since, that all that kerfuffle in mid-December has been a really good team. They've been alternating results a little bit, kind of punting some games, I guess, or, when Trae's not out there, they're not as good, but 7-1 last 8 roadies with Trae with a 113 defensive rating. That's the kind of like stark splits that I'm talking about. And basically shooting 50, 40, 90 as a team when he's out there. I don't think the Pels still have the firepower to match that. I think I actually like Hawks more than the over because of that. I worry that the Pelicans are going to regress to where they were in that 9-game losing streak. Ingram does not have good numbers his last couple against ATL. And Capella has some really good numbers defending. He might be a problem for Joval, who's also listed as probable with a quad bruise. And I just don't think the Pels have the 3-point shooting to hang in this one, which is why they've lost 7 of their last 8 against Atlanta.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you didn't mention about the Pellies, and maybe it's because I know how much you love CJ McCollum, but he's just not been what they need, to be honest, right? Like he hasn't stepped in to give them starting star guard numbers, let's say, right? Like he is their starting guard. He's the guy who came in, and obviously when Zion was out a bunch last season, played really well for them when he came over, and Zion's still not around, and CJ isn't doing the same stuff that he was last year, and it's really, very specific, particularly around the 3-point line. I mean, he's gotten better in the last roughly like 10, 15 games. He's back up to about like 35, 34% from deep, but it's not good enough for him, and he is still taking about 7 attempts from out there. I think they need him to make a bit more. I think they need him to dime up a bunch more. I think they need him to play a bit more of that normal point guard, and I think that's what you see from the lack of offense on this team is a lack of a point guard. BI, like you said, he's going to get his against the Lakers no matter what. That's going to be a forever for his career thing. I think he wanted to play for them. He didn't get the opportunity, and now every time he goes back there, he's going to be pissed, right? And so that's a little bit more of an anomaly. I think in this game, you might expect a little bit more aggression, like you said. When he's playing with CJ right now alongside each other, when they're on the court together, their net rating isn't even positive, which is wild. You can put him in a bunch of different 5-man lineups and maybe it gets better, but in there when there's just you narrow it down to a 2-man lineup, they're not playing well together, and CJ's not helping Brandon, BI get into his spots. BI's not hitting, to be fair to him. It's been a weird season, but I think the lack of offense from Nola and just the lack of consistency on offense is why you lean Atlanta in this game. +2, I love that it's been bet away from them. I do think there's something to the idea that the Pelicans, even though they haven't been anything close to a good defensive team, if they have Joe Val, I like this matchup a lot better for them. If they don't, I think Capella and Trey are about to eat tonight, and that's going to be a big problem with Capella in the lineup this season. Trey's actually had a few less minutes, but pretty close to about the same amount of time that Trey's been on the floor with and without Capella. And when Capella's out there, everything's just much better. 3 more points a game, 2 more assists per game. I believe his turnovers are about the same because you can expect that from Trey, but about an extra free throw attempt a game, a little bit better from deep. Like everything's just a little bit better because he needs that one guy to come in, create space for him so that he's either going towards the basket or able to pull up from deep. And that's been, why they're better with Capella out there as well, unsurprisingly, and that defensive rating goes way up. So this is going to be a bit of a matchup problem for Nola, especially if Joe. I mean, look, he'll probably be out there, right? I think we can expect him to get minutes. I think they're trying to sort of salvage this season after hemorrhaging those 9 to 10 losses in a row that they had, and so there's reason to think that they're going to come out and try. But I think that also leads you to like a bit more points moving forward as well. Atlanta, in the last 5 games, or 4 games really since they've been on the road. Trey doesn't really impact their defense. If anything, it's worse. But 14 made threes for their opponent is good for 5th worst. They are allowing better than 37% from deep as well. And while New Orleans has also wanted to get out on the fast break a bit more and run with guys when especially when CJ's not out there and it's just young guys all over the floor. Atlanta they're not great in transition defense, but they have been better. They've been top 5 in rebounds. They've been limiting offensive rebounds, and they've been getting some offensive rebounds and sort of limiting, the opponent fast break. So I think that's where, their offense is almost a better defense for them by making buckets so that they can avoid, other teams being able to sprint back on D against them. And I think that's what you can expect tonight in this game. Pace, definitely a little bit faster as the Hawks have been at the top 10 pace all season as well. Probably the addition of DeJounte there, as that's not what their style was last year. So I think that opens up just plenty of points, and you can't take an under in a Hawks game right now. You just got to keep hitting that over, especially on the road, even at 236.5 if that's what you want. But I love taking them as dogs as well.
Yeah, you really can't, because it's an alternate line situation where they hit 250 pretty often if they are going over. So yeah, the 237, even with it creeping up a little bit, doesn't scare me. Pace is a little faster on the road since the new year. More free throws for the Hawks. Dominating the boards, though, on the road, like you said, and limiting free throws. 3rd limiting free throws in his last 11. So, I mean, that's a huge part of what New Orleans needs to do. I mean, DeAndre Hunter, good defensive matchup for Ingram, and has been recently been playing really well. DeJounte Murray really coming on in terms of understanding how to play with Trey. I think it's all kind of lining up that Atlanta being a deeper, better team here, and they don't have the same road home issues that they have in the past. So I think the Pels little 2-game win streak snaps here, and ATL gets another road win.
Yeah, it's a good call, and the road wins are so crazy. I think the road numbers are better, for some of these guys, like we talk about Trey and them just sort of riding his bad guy, villain sort of role that he likes to play when he gets on the road. And I think you can continue to expect that from him tonight. So that's all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Looking to stay super hot with you guys on all of our game picks and player props this week. So until we see you next, happy betting.